Hi quilters, I'm Julie with Petty John Quilting and Embroidery, and today I would like to talk to you about when you are cropping a pantograph on Pro Stitcher and you get buildup, heavy buildup of thread, like what happened to me here. Like most people, when I'm cropping for a quilt, my first concern is measurement. Really what I'm thinking about when I crop is that I want my cropping to fit perfectly on the quilt. Now, sometimes that's going to mean that I'm going to need to be right inside the quilt. Sometimes I run off in the batting, but if I've got a really large edge to edge that I've put together, I want to crop it off so it'll be a nice fit for my stitching. And that's all I'm concerned about. But every now and then, you have something happen where it really matters where you crop. And that's what happened to me on this design that I'm going to show you. I purchased a design by Jessica Schick on Urban Elements, spider web with spider, and it's a really cool design. I'm going to take you up close and show you here in just a second. And I got it laid out just like I wanted for this Halloween quilt, and then I cropped it, and I wasn't even thinking about what that crop would do to the quilt, just where I needed it to be cropped. Well, I got a really big build-up, and I want to show you how I very easily fix that. You can see right here the buildup that I'm talking about. What happened is that when the spider web started stitching out, as it stitched, it would come back and it would travel down, sometimes back up and over, down, up, back down a little, and over. And it kept doing this over and over until I got almost a rope-like texture, and I was getting concerned as to what it was going to do with my backing fabric and just, how that would play off of the quilt, having that so close. So I looked at my cropping, and as you can see, these lines over in here are showing you where I cropped. And depending on the design and how it's made, and this one has a lot of traveling all around the web, it will travel back and forth, and actually it does an amazing job because it doesn't have any second stitches, any secondary stitches or anything. It really does a great job going over itself, but over on this side, and sometimes we don't see that because we've got our area box on there and we don't stop and take that area view off and take a look to see that big line there and see how it's going to stitch out. Now sometimes too we might see it, but we might think, oh okay, that's just one line. That's not going to hurt anything. And we don't really know how it's going to stitch out and if it's going to make a difference. So the lesson there that I would suggest is to air stitch. And how we do air stitch, of course, is to go up to Pro Stitcher and Quilt and make sure you just turn off the stitch buttons there. So if none of those are lit, then when we have this selected and we do a run and we start it, our machine will just move without any stitches. Now, if I had done that, I would have seen it over in here going up and down and up and down and up and down, and I think it went up and down 7 or 8 times. You can see I'm doing it here out of place, and that's where it's going up and down over in this spot because I don't really have it positioned over here. So you can see, look, it's going down again, back up again, and now it's going over towards the spider web. That's what it was doing over here. And I thought, well, okay, gee, I wish I could just add some design on over here to the left. That would be a great thing to do if I could just say, okay, I want to add some of those stitches back on. But you know, we can't paste back on once we've cropped. So I want to show you what I did do. After thinking about this a little bit, it was really fairly simple. I decided I needed to bring my original panto into this spiderweb panto. And then I needed to lay this over, so I'm going to zoom in. I needed to lay this one directly over this one. Now that's because I had my positioning and everything done, and I'd already done 2 rows. Okay, so I wanted to move this back over, zoom in as close as you need to make sure that these lines got into my position. So I got them in the position that I needed, and then I just deleted the cropped area behind it. And guess what? It was kind of like I said a while ago when I said, oh gee, I wish I could just glue some back on, or I could just add some stitches back on. That's basically what I was doing, because I noticed that actually my edge to edge that I had built with the number of repeats I needed going across really wasn't that much wider than my crop had been. I just had been thinking, well, I don't need to stitch out that far into the batting. I'll just crop it right in here. But what I did inadvertently was create a travel line that was going to build and build, and I would have had that going all the way down my quilt on every row because every row is identical. But instead, on my next rows then, there was no reason for me to take out the first 2 rows. They looked wonderful, except for the buildup that I had on row 2. And so what I did was just then I had my row 3 all set to start. It just started a little bit farther out to my left. So what's the lesson learned here? What can we take away from this? Because I've been quilting for 5 years and I've never had a buildup quite like this yet. But I did learn that not only am I going to be concerned about the sizing that I need when I crop, I'm going to look at where that crop is going to come and what it's going to cause to happen possibly. Also, and this is something I already do, make sure you save everything. I saved that original edge to edge that I put together. I did have to crop off the top of the first row. I saved that. Then I cropped from row 2 and through, I think I had 4 rows, row 2 through 4. I cropped those off. So from start to end, so I would not accidentally repeat that first row that I'd cropped and have a line going horizontally across my quilt. So I didn't have to save a lot, but I saved all the crucial steps that I needed in that. So I could easily go back and get my original edge to edge, and my plan was to look for a better place to crop that. But as it wasn't all that much bigger than my crop anyway, so I just went with the whole thing. The other thing that you can learn from this is to use that air stitch. See how it's going to stitch out before you commit to the stitch on your quilt. Let's just remember to think about where we're going to crop, turn off the view of our area, and see where our lines are going to be. I hope that helps you. Thanks for watching.